97.3 City FM. Relevant radio, always.
The National Revenue Secretariat under the Ministry of Finance from 1986 through to 1998, when the VAT service was formed. In the course of that, I held a number of positions as a revenue officer, the main one being the national coordinator at the time the value-added tax was introduced. I obtained a master's degree on study leave twice at the ministry, at the Kennedy School, Harvard University. Prior to that, a year earlier, I had qualified as a chartered accountant, and therefore I am a professional accountant. After the introduction of the VAT, I joined the International Monetary Fund for almost 10 years, where, according to my CV, I did a lot of work on the international circuit. I had a privilege of being invited by the late Professor Mills to join his government. Went through a similar vetting in 2009 and worked for the 4 years as one of 2 deputy ministers. I do admit that sometimes in asking them to do the right thing, a few of them have taken offense. Mr. Chairman, cordiality is important, but I also believe that discipline is important in running an organization. And to the extent that even this sitting has expressed concern and several concerns about fiscal discipline, I think the word discipline is very important. And therefore, my only appeal, is that we are custodians in the ministry and its agencies of hard-earned funds which Ghanaians have paid as taxes, and it is not our duty to mismanage those funds. And therefore, just as I am being asked for assurances, that the nation's resources will be managed well, I think that it also requires a certain element of fairness for us to be able to put the systems in place for the benefit of the nation. Otherwise, as we have often lamented, we may be a country, that for which oil becomes a curse and not a blessing because we cannot control the resources. We may be a country for which, funds are collected by the Ghana Revenue Authority, but we are unable to manage it effectively.
Practically all that is the first 2 questions that you asked. The issue of how we can support Ghanaians who want to return, and also the issue of how we can make sure that our missions are properly financed to be able to perform their functions, are a direct consequence of the budgetary support that we are ready to give to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration to perform its mandate. And also, the ability of the Ministry of Finance to manage the releases to the MDAs in such a way that they can be made available on time. We do not have arrears, and our staff in our missions abroad are not embarrassed. But let me take the first part of the question first, with Ghanaians who want to come back to settle. I think that when it is an issue of facilitating people's travel arrangements, the operative word here is facilitating, not financing. It should be possible for us to require our staff within our missions to play a proactive role in that regard. But we will not be in a position to help to finance that process unless we as a country decide and make the commitment that we want to make sure that as many Ghanaians as possible who are willing and able to do so are coming back, and we are ready to spend some money to resettle them. I think that it is a policy initiative that we would need to think through at the level of cabinet, especially as we have a situation where our economy is expanding. We have Ghanaians who have trained abroad, who have skills and talent, and who perhaps we should be thinking of attracting back to Ghana.
First of all, before anybody proceeds to develop, he is required to take a building permit before he develops. And that is also granted based on the development plan of the area where you are seeking to develop. In most cases, what happens is that developers disregard the process of taking permits before development, in which case you find situations where people have developed and they are not connected to utilities. But in view of the fact that the President's vision in the water sector is to ensure that every Ghanaian has access to safe and affordable water, we cannot say that because they do not take permits, they should not be connected to water. Everybody must have access to water in this country. In that regard, guidelines will be issued as to how, or as to the process that one has to go through to have connection to water. Irrespective of whether you had a permit or not, you must have access to safe and potable water. The guidelines that will be issued would describe a process. First, the applicant or the developer must apply to urban water company. And after the application is made, in 3 days, the company is expected to carry out an inspection of your facility or your development.